Hello, I'm Rev Brad, and this is the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline.
He's found the space, and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him ends, and they have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night. The hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner. Goes towards the near post. And you're the angle, and what a goal! What a
goal! Today is September 11. Today is a day of remembrance. Ask most Americans about September 11 or 9/11, and they will tell you where they were on this fateful day some 23 years ago. In my long time working in soccer, I've seen very few times when the soccer world stopped. 9/11 was one of those days. For me, the morning of September 11, 2001, saw me newly married. My bride and I had been married for 1 month. We were starting our new life together, and I was starting a new venture. September 11, 2001 was convocation day for my 4 years in seminary. I had already had a class or two on Monday, but Tuesday morning, I remember I was running late for the convocation service in the campus chapel that would mark the official start to my theological training. As I ran out the door, I quickly checked email. The AOL mail browser popped up with a little image of smoke and a short headline which read that a plane had run into one of the downtown buildings in New York City. I remember thinking to myself, how does a little Cessna get lost and crash into a high-rise building? Well, as I found my way into the chapel at Denver Seminary, I found a seat in the back and listened as the student body and staff sang an opening hymn. As the notes faded from the piano, the president of the seminary got up to address those gathered in the room. "Our nation has been attacked," he began. "I've been instructed to inform you that all active duty and reserve military personnel are to report to their battalions." I watched in amazement as a third of the student body got up and left the room quickly and quietly. To be honest, the rest of the day is a bit of a blur. I don't recall anything else said. I don't remember if classes were held or canceled. My only other distinct memories from that day were talking to my wife later that evening, and both of us noticing how quiet everything seemed. No airplanes traveling overhead, and it seemed even the birds were silent, like maybe they were grounded too. And the next few days felt ominous. Occasionally we'd hear an Air Force jet flying overhead, but eerily, things were quiet, things were still. I also remember that 2001 had been a difficult year for my club team, the Colorado Rapids. Now, I had left the team in May of that year. I had been the PR director. But I left for a number of personal and professional reasons, but I still followed and rooted for the team. And I remember when the news broke that the MLS regular season would be prematurely ended, there was a little bit of a feeling of disappointment because the Rapids had been doing better, climbing out of a hole, and I was holding on to the hope and belief that the team could still make the playoffs somehow. Well, over the next few weeks, stories came forth. Staff members, coaches, athletes, many shared about friends and family and colleagues that they knew were in New York at the time that the towers fell. Extremely sobering was the fact that league headquarters for MLS was just a few miles from where the World Trade Center had once stood. Most of my own connections to New York has come through or are part of those relationships with people in Major League Soccer and around the rest of the beautiful game. 9/11, 2001. The world was forever changed. Soccer stopped, not only in the U.S., but around the world. Few other moments have been like that experience. Even the stoppages of COVID don't really compare. So in honor of this day, I'd like to close out the podcast a little bit differently. I'd like to have a minute of silence just now, and then come back and say a prayer that will be the end of our episode today. Lord, this day we mark a terrible sin, a terrible tragedy, a terrible attack. It is not unlike other days in history, but it is fresh to our contemporary memories. It may have been a day when football around the world stopped, but it was a day that saw you filled with grief. To see your children fighting and killing each other as we have done since long ago. So hear our prayer. Heal our hurt. Comfort us in the midst of our pain and our loss. Come, bring your peace. Come, Lord, come quickly. Amen. This is Rev Brad coming to you from the Touchline.